He's too best.
Assalamu alaikum. Very good evening. Welcome back to Lasikosh. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, if I can just introduce myself very quickly. My name is Roderick Williams. I'm a broadcaster working with Al-Cas sports channels here in Doha, Qatar for the last 4 years. This is my 26th year in broadcasting, and I've been fortunate enough to be involved in sport and spend a lot of time meeting and interviewing my sporting heroes who've enjoyed the glory and the success that goes with sport. But I've also met a lot who've had to endure the tougher side of sport. This evening we have a fascinating character who's going to share with us his personal story. So I appreciate your attention. We'll have a chat for about half an hour. The gentleman to my left here played over 200 professional games in football as an association footballer, played with Stoke City, late laureate. We even had him at Cardiff City on a month loan with us. And he finished his career bravely up in Scotland. Very cold up there. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tony Kennedy. Right, this is a chat about gambling. Tony has addiction to gambling, which he has overcome. And I'm going to start, not at the beginning, and it is for impact, Tony, but I want to know, and everybody here would like to know, I think, how bad was it when it was at its height for you? The gambling addiction was at a point where there was no return. How bad was it?
Well, that's a very interesting question, because one of the things that I'm doing at the moment with Red Car, which is my company, Red Car Project, is basically raising awareness in terms of gambling, but the main impact in terms of health, in terms of the well-being, sustainability of lifestyle, and the full impact of what gambling addiction actually does to you. So in terms of the height of my addiction, is your question, when I was at Stoke City, signed for Stoke when I was 22 years old, all of a sudden had this big money move, and then basically I just spiraled into addiction throughout those 3 years at Stoke City. And at the height of it, I would do things. I'll give you an example of some of the things that I've done in terms of funding my addiction. I actually, this might shock you a bit, shock you guys, but I actually done a kiss and tell with the news of the world. And that is, I say that quite flippantly, but that is something I'm not proud of one bit, because that was all I had in my mind was, where can I get the next lump sum to fund my gambling habit?
Yeah, so you had to get hold of the money. How much money were you spending? How much money were you losing?
Well, put it this way, in terms of my football career, 8-9 years, I lost approximately £500,000, lost 2 houses, lost 4 cars, obviously lost my girlfriend, and I ended up with a bankruptcy file of £192,000.
Do you remember the first bet?
I do actually remember the first bet. My first bet, which is one of the things why I say to people that, and everybody out there, you know, we're all susceptible to gambling. You don't know the risk. You don't know if you put that first bet on, you know, whether you're going to be one of the unfortunate ones that becomes addicted. I was 18 years old, moved from Coventry to London, started a new life, started on my dream to become a professional footballer, and actually signed for a semi-professional football club called Dulwich Hamlet in South East London. And unfortunately for me, there was the old Mecca bookmakers. Remember the Mecca bookmakers? The old Mecca bookmakers, right outside the stadium. And one of the reasons I think, if I reflect on it, I think that all of that, you want to fit in. I've come from Coventry, I want to be one of the lads. They're all having a few little £5 bets, and that was my first £5, 5 aways accumulator. And that's how it started.
How did you do on that one?
I lost.
So So you put your first bet on and lost.
Yeah, and exactly. And there's the difference when some people say you might win your first bet, fall into that false sense of security where you think you're going to win every week. But with me, it's just I had the buzz, it gripped me, and then the following 5 years until I turned professional football, because I didn't sign Stoke till I was 22. But I just continued gambling for those 4 years. And as I said, it spiraled when I turned professional.
At any point during your gambling, when it was at its worst, did anybody spot what you were doing? Did anybody come to try and offer you some advice?
That's a really interesting question because I reflect on my whole career and certain points where I may have been helped or may have been saved. And I'll give you an incident that happened at Stoke City. So I had one of my bad days down the casino on a Saturday night. Like us gamblers do, we go to our last penny. So I'm there, finishing the night at the casino, penniless, thinking to myself, right, how am I going to get to training next week? How am I going to put food on the table? How am I going to get petrol, etc. So I was put in a position now where I have to come clean to the manager. And the manager at the time, some of you in this room will know, Lou Macari. And I just had to knock on his door. And I knocked on his door and just said to Lou, look, I've had a little bit of a problem. And to be fair to Lou, he knew he was gambling. He said, okay, you can gamble, yeah. And I think because Lou was into horse racing, and I don't know whether he was into gambling then, I can't say that, but I know he was into horse racing because we all used to get tips, horse players used to get tips from, etc. So I think that was an opportunity for Lou to say to me, sit me down, have a quiet word, tell me what's the issue, what's bothering you, why are you in and out of form, why are you so inconsistent? Because in the 3.5 years I was at Stoke, I think I only played 50 games, and I should have played well over 100 games. And so he knew that I had serious issues with consistency, up and down form, there was obviously something bothering me. And so I reflect on that, and maybe that was an opportunity for Lou to say, Tony, let's have a word, let's see if we can sort this out. Maybe go to the PFA, maybe sort out my debts, etc. So that's
maybe not so much Lou, but maybe the club to work with you.
Exactly.
To get some help for that.
Yeah, and I think that goes today with all football clubs. That's why I say to people, you know, when we talk to all kinds of organisations, whether it's a university, whether it's a college, whether it's a football club, whatever the case may be, is that there's so many people that have a role to play. You know, we could talk about teachers, we could talk about employers, we could talk about agents, managers, scouts. All these people, you know, have a small role to play in terms of, you know, the welfare of their staff.
Just to go back to something you said, that you would do anything to get the money, to get the next bet. That is a vulnerable position to be in. Was that something that did you feel a sense of vulnerability during those days?
Definitely, 100%, because as I said earlier, regarding the News of the World story, that was to get cash, you know, but then all the things that come into a gambler's life, in terms of the lies, the deceit, you know, the cheating. You know, I've let my family down, you lose friends along the way, you know, so you do become very, very, very vulnerable. And to be honest with you, like I said to you, I know we touched on it earlier, is that I feel lucky. I do actually feel lucky that I'm here, talking to you guys, you know, about gambling addiction, because there's so many, you know, that are not as fortunate as me.
If you're vulnerable, and you'll do anything to get money for your next bet, would you throw a game? Would you consider an offer from a larger syndicate to influence a game so you can get that money?
I can honestly say, one of my biggest things that I really pride myself on is honesty. And I can honestly say that I would definitely have thrown the game. Going back those years, the height of my addiction, the debt I was in, the repossessions, the bailiffs, all the rest of it. Without a shadow of a doubt, if someone came to me and said, look Tony, you know, we can make you 100 grand, we can clear your debts in one slate. All you got to do is what you can taste it through a game. There's no doubt about it. If I was in that position at that particular time, there's no doubt about it. would have done it, yeah.
Were you ever approached?
No, honestly, hand in heart, saying no, I've never been approached. I wish I was. I wouldn't be this day now.
Not the message we're trying to put out. But based on that, your experience, you didn't get approached. Were you aware of others, maybe not necessarily the same team, but friends of yours or other professionals who were playing for different teams who were involved in that?
No, I wasn't actually. Strange enough, during from 1990 to 98, during my career, there was never any mention of match fixing between players that I knew or players, friends or friends. It seems to, I don't know, taken a turn for the worse since I finished playing.
Well, of course, our love for sport, anyone's love for sport, is because it's the greatest unscripted drama. I think everybody would agree. That's why we all watch it, and maybe that's why people get hooked on gambling, is because you don't know what's going to happen, so you have a bet to try and guess. But things have changed, whereas you're beginning to maybe know the script. In some instances, we know that there is match fixing. It's been proven, people are getting caught. Now we're in a position where we do know the script on occasions.
Yeah, match fixing is definitely out there. Just like gambling addiction is here to stay. Gambling addiction is a massive multi-billion-dollar industry, so it's here to stay, it's not going anywhere. And the little snippets that I've heard in the last year, 18 months in terms of players throwing matches, whether it be non-league football, whether it be professional football, you know, there's going to be always those minority that are going to be taking that risk. If they feel they can get away with it, they'll do it.
This is a bit hypothetical, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Based on your experience as a professional footballer over 200 games, would you, when you watch football on television now, or when you're watching it live, I'm just picking football because that's what you play, could you notice unusual patterns in a game? Could you notice unusual behaviour by a player, by an outfield player, by a goalkeeper? I'm just wondering, I'm just trying to bring, you know, is there a place for people like yourself who've experienced the need to gamble with, and combining it with your expertise, and maybe looking at that a little closer?
Yeah, without being biased, as an ex-professional, I think a professional footballer or an ex-professional footballer will have a certain intuition in terms of how the game is played, certain mannerisms, certain actions that you do as a player, whether it doesn't matter what position, whether you're a goalkeeper, whether you're a striker, it doesn't matter what position, there's certain things that you can do to influence the game. When I watch the TV and watch matches and watch matches of the day, I look at things and I'm gobsmacked, to be honest with you, with certain things that I see, and I always say to myself, is there something going on there?
Well, in your opinion, and it is your opinion, and I'm not pointing fingers and saying for sure, do you think there is? Do you think it's still prevalent in the game in England? And in other European leagues? I'm only pointing to those because they are the most high-profile ones that we see on television on a regular basis.
100%, I believe this is going on. I believe it's going on in the English League, all the divisions, whether it's Premier League, whether it's League 2, whether it's National League, Conference, Ryman League, it doesn't matter. I believe that there's a lot of suspicious activities going on within the game.
Are you aware of any people who are involved in running it?
No.
Or are you hearing, do you hear mutterings? I'm not saying that, you know, people, we hear these stories, don't you? We hear that somebody's involved with some of them high profile and others not. Do you hear?
No, I don't hear anything, to be honest with you. I haven't heard anything to any circles or any football circles that are moving. But my personal opinion is that, you know, as I said before, there will be people out there that will take the opportunity, that will take the risk. If they feel they can get away with it, they will try it.
All right, let's get back to how bad it can get, because the one thing, I don't want to sort of get stuck with addiction, but it's important because along with gambling, if you become addicted to gambling, it often comes with other issues and problems.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that myself, our team, Red Card, we have a team of therapists. And I think one of the most important things that we do, which I feel there should be more and more people doing, basically dealing with not just the financial loss, not just the impact of gambling, but trying to get to the root of the problem. Because often, you know, the root of the problem can go way, way, way back to your childhood. We all have different makeup, we all wire differently, we all have different genetics. So these are the things that we're learning, or I'm learning as I'm going along, in terms of the whole spectrum of gambling addiction.
It's not too much money. It's not too little money. It's nothing to do with that, is it?
In terms of what people earn?
Yeah.
Absolutely irrelevant. Absolutely relevant. I've got a nephew who's 24 now. I've got a couple of cousins between 20 and 21. They're getting hooked on gambling now. They don't earn a lot of money. It doesn't matter.
So are they footballers?
No, not football, no. We have to get away from how much money you earn, whether you're on 100 grand a week or 100 quid a week. In my borough of Enfield, you know, we've got thousands of young adults, 18, 24-year-olds, who are addicted to gambling, half of them on GSA. So it doesn't matter what you earn, addiction is the same principle. It doesn't matter what you earn.
Did you gamble on anything?
No, but my main vice was casinos. Casinos is the main. I started with horse racing, obviously doing the football bets, but my main loss over those years was in the casinos. I lived in the casinos.
What was it about the casino that pulled you in?
I don't really know, but you know,
I know the casino.
Yeah.
I go to Vegas, and that's the last casino.
Yeah, you know, people say when you go to the casino, it's like, it's bright lights, there's a bit of glamour to it, you know, you get a few nice young ladies, to be honest with you. Yeah, so it's all that, you know, so it does draw you in. Yeah, there is a certain glamour to casinos, and now, obviously, casinos have changed now. You can walk up the street straight into a casino, some of them 24/7. So it's a little bit different in my day, because it closed at 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock.
Did you ever bet at home? Were you ever gambling at home? Or was it purely an external thing you did out of the house?
No, I gambled at home because I had a phone account. So I had a Coral's phone account. I used to listen to the commentary, you know, and I can't tell you how many remote controls I've broken over the years because it's just thrown on the TV. It's just ridiculous. So I gambled, yeah, at home, in the bookies, in the casinos. Obviously back then there wasn't apps, which is another issue. So, yeah.
Who and what saved you?
It's a combination of things, to be honest with you. When I finished my football career, as I said, I did have £192,000 bankruptcy there. So I decided that I'm going to make a huge decision, and that was really, really hard. Took legal advice, took family advice. I thought, right, how can I move forward? How can I get myself, you know, to start again? So I went bankrupt. Obviously got all my debt wiped out. And then, for me, this is on a personal level, so it won't relate to everybody in this room. It's a very personal level. So I regained my faith, because I used to be quite religious. I lost my way, but then I regained my faith. And I believe that this is my new journey. This is what I'm meant to be doing, and that made me stronger. It gave me hope, looking forward to the future. And this is why I started Red Card. This is why I wrote the book Red Card. This is what I want to do going forward.
It's your journey. Red Card is your book, it's your organisation.
Yeah.
You talk about the therapists you have who work with you. What can you do? I would imagine, if I had a problem, I want to talk to you. No, seriously, if I'm a young footballer, I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
You've been there. Help me.
I think when we talked to, we met with Coventry University not too long ago, and again, you know, when I talk about gambling addiction in the UK, we have to understand that it's absolutely everywhere. You know, it's not just in professional football, it's not just in professional sport, it's in society. I was quite surprised when they told us the levels of addictions of their students, blowing their student grants, blowing their student loans, going to their parents for money. So what we tend to really talk about, what people want to hear, I think more than anything that's come across, is, you know, they want to listen to people that have literally been through the whole cycle from start to finish, all the emotions, all the financial losses, all the issues that come along with it, all the related issues in terms of multiple addictions, which is another thing. So if I was wanting help, I would want to listen to somebody that has literally been through it and can actually talk to you from the heart and explain to you, this is what can happen. If you take that risk, this is what could happen.
Have you done that personally yourself? Yes. Have you been in that position?
Yes. I had a friend who, my last football club was actually a non-league football club when I finished playing football Harlow Town. And there was a lad in our team who used to just kick off every weekend, you know, get sent off, fighting in the dressing room. We've done this for two seasons I was there. And we just couldn't work out what was wrong with him. You know, he literally used to just lose it every week. Manager didn't say anything, as we touched on earlier. And then I got a phone call the other day. His name's Wade, I won't say his full name. I got a phone call the other day, and he found me on LinkedIn. And I was really, really shocked, because I haven't seen him for over 20 years. And I just couldn't believe what he was telling me. That throughout that time, when he was at Harlow Town, and the previous 15 years before that, he was a gambling addict, and he couldn't tell anybody, he couldn't tell his family, he couldn't tell his girlfriend, obviously he couldn't tell the football club. And he had serious mental health issues. He got sectioned, and he's contacted me on LinkedIn about a month ago, you know, obviously asking for my help, and now we're going to put him on an assessment and hopefully get his therapy sorted out. So it just goes to show that they call it a hidden addiction, don't they? So the amount of people that just cannot come to talk about it.
And there's nobody that's immune from it. Without naming clubs, you know of, you know, clubs in the top flight in the English Premier League where it is prevalent, where there are problems.
Yeah, well, you say English Premier League, but it's all the leagues.
It is, but sometimes, you know, it's the English Premier League that sets the standard. That's who people aspire to be. Of course, not, you know, lower leagues are important, but we see on telly, they're the role models.
Yeah.
You know, they are in a
and that's
different position.
Yeah, but that's why I would like more ex-players. I mean, I'm no Wayne Rooney, simple as that. You know, I never played at the highest level. You know, so I would like ex-players who played, you know, years and years in the Premier League, years and years in the First Division, as the old First Division as it was then. I would like more ex-players to come out and talk about, you know, their addiction. Because like I said, there's so many people, there's thousands of footballers out there that have had addiction that have never ever talked about it. And I do get that, don't get me wrong, I do understand why they don't want to talk about it. You know, there is that stigma attached, there is shame to a lot of people, there is embarrassment. So I do understand that, but it would help a lot, especially the whole football world, especially the young academy players coming through now. If they can be educated from 16 years old by ex-pros, then it's only going to help.
Just draw to a close on the way things have changed in betting. There's illegal betting. You're about, how old are you now?
Serious.
You say me.
I guess. What I guess?
Mid-40s.
I'm happy. 49. On 15 February.
Alright, I'm 47. I knew we were all the same age, but what I'm saying is betting used to be quite simple in your day when it was at the height, yes? You go to a casino, or you bet on a horse, or you bet on a team.
Yeah.
Okay? You still ran into trouble, but you come out the other end.
Yeah.
Okay? But it was a horrible journey.
Yeah.
Today, you touched on it, mobile phones, social networking, spread betting, which has changed the thing. You can bet on anything these days.
Yeah.
Okay? Again, it's hypothetical. You were in a situation that was bad. How much worse do you think it would have been had that been available to you?
Well, to be fair, I couldn't have really gotten any worse, because I did actually lose everything. I did actually go bankrupt. I did actually lose my house. But to follow up on what you're saying, in terms of the accessibility, how it's a little bit different now. We've got the apps, people are living on their phones. Online gambling is actually huge online gambling is. And one thing I do want to say tonight, because I know there's a few ladies in the house, is that we do have to remember this is not just about men gambling. So we need to remember there are thousands of women in the UK gambling, getting addicted online, getting addicted to bingo, etc. So, you know, it's everywhere.
Women in sport that you know of?
Not that I know of, but it wouldn't surprise me, because accessibility is there. 24/7, you can sit in your room, on your app, so you don't have to go out to the bookies, you don't have to go out to the casino.
Do you think this should be talked about before the problem even arises? Do you think this is something that needs to be taught at an even younger age? I don't know what the age is or what it should be. I'm just...
Yeah.
My daughter is 6 and is more advanced on an iPad than I am. So, you know, by the time she's 12, what can she do? Okay, yes, you can try and control things, but where should the education begin?
Yeah.
Where should people be aware of how vulnerable they are?
Me personally, I would say from the age of 16. Because 16, you're going out into the workplace, you're going to college, you're going to university, so you're starting your adult life, really. So if you're fully aware and fully educated in terms of gambling addiction, in terms of the dangers, exactly what it can do and how it can ruin your life, I think that would be a good age to start. I mean, with me and my team of therapists, we talk about it, we're actually in the process of, one of my partners are in the process of developing an app, which is basically a prevention app, which we're going to hopefully develop in the next 6 to 12 months, and that's part of an education tool in terms of how you can assess yourself. There'll be panic buttons on there, you'll get directed to a therapist. So these are the kind of things that we're working on. But I think 16 would be the age that we're looking at to educate and getting awareness out there.
Okay, well, we're very glad that you're at the other end. We're very glad that you got your bio out when you're A4, as you told me, to write your book, Red Card.
Yeah,
the organisation.
No ghostwriter, no laptops, bio A4, old school.
Tony, it's been great having a chat with you. Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Cabby.
Thanks a lot.